If you ever hike miles into Yosemite and find a tent already pitched in your reserved spot, don't set yours up next to it. Just turn around and leave. My brother and I learned that the hard way last October. We had managed to snag a backcountry permit for one of the most remote sites in the park. It was a grueling 6-mile hike in, carrying all our gear. We were exhausted, running on empty, and just looking forward to dropping our packs. But when we finally broke through the tree line into the clearing, we froze. Sitting dead center in our spot was a faded green dome tent. There was no one around. No campfire ring, no backpacks leaning against the trees, no voices. Just the tent. We cautiously walked up to it. The rainfly was pulled tight, but through a small gap in the vestibule, we could see a sleeping bag, a half-empty water bottle, and a jacket. It looked lived in, but completely abandoned. Maybe they got lost on a day hike, my brother suggested. Or maybe the booking system glitched and double-booked us. We were too tired to hike 6 miles back in the dark, so we made a foolish call. We pitched our tent about 20 feet away, right on the edge of the tree line. We figured when the owners got back, we'd just explain the situation and figure it out. Night fell fast, and the temperature plummeted. By 10 p.m., the woods were dead silent. The kind of absolute silence that makes your ears ring. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. The air was freezing. But it wasn't the cold that pulled me out of my sleep. It was the sound of footsteps. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. Heavy, deliberate steps walking through the dry pine needles and gravel. 2 legs. Not a bear, not a deer. A person. I held my breath, waiting for the familiar sound of a zipper. I waited for them to crawl into the green tent and go to sleep. But the footsteps didn't go toward the green tent. They were walking toward ours. The heavy crunching stopped exactly 2 feet from my head. I could see the faint, dark shape of 2 boots illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the thin nylon wall. I lay there, paralyzed, waiting for a voice. Hello? A flashlight beam. Nothing. Just the sound of slow, shallow breathing. They weren't moving. They were just standing over us in the pitch black, listening to us breathe. I reached over and squeezed my brother's arm. He was already awake, his eyes wide with pure terror in the dark. We lay there for what felt like hours. Neither of us dared to move a muscle. Finally, just as the sky began to turn a bruised purple, the footsteps slowly backed away, fading into the dense woods. As soon as the sun crested the trees, we scrambled out of our sleeping bags. We threw our gear into our packs in record time. The green tent was completely untouched. We were halfway down the trail when we ran into a park ranger hiking up fast, looking stressed. When he saw us, he stopped dead in his tracks. "Where did you 2 come from?" he demanded, his hand resting nervously near his radio. "Site 4, my brother said, out of breath. "We booked it months ago, but there's another tent up there." The ranger's face went pale. "The system shouldn't have let you book that. I'm heading up there right now to tape it off." "Tape it off?" I asked, a cold knot forming in my stomach. "Why?" The ranger looked at us, his voice dropping to a low, deadpan whisper. "That site has been officially closed for 2 days. We found the car belonging to the couple in that green tent abandoned at the trailhead. But there's a massive amount of blood inside. We've been searching the woods for them since Tuesday." My brother and I looked at each other, the same horrifying thought hitting us at once. If the people in that tent were gone, who was standing outside ours? "Do not stop to rest," he ordered, his voice completely devoid of its earlier authority. If you see anyone else on the trail coming down, you let them pass. Do not engage." Then he pushed past us, hiking up toward Site 4. The remaining 3 miles were a blur of pure, unfiltered adrenaline. My chest burned. My legs were shaking under the weight of my pack, but my brother and I practically sprinted down the switchbacks. The woods, which had felt so majestic the day before, now felt like a trap. Every snapping twig, every rustle of the wind in the pines sounded like heavy boots dragging through the dirt. When we finally burst into the trailhead parking lot, it was mostly empty. We threw our packs into the trunk of my Subaru, slammed it shut, and locked the doors the second we were inside. We didn't speak until we were 10 miles down the road, pulling into the main ranger station in the valley. The place was crawling with county sheriffs. They took us into a sterile, brightly lit back office to get our statements. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by a cold, heavy exhaustion. A detective sat across from us, taking notes as we recounted the whole night. The abandoned green tent, our foolish decision to sleep nearby, and then the footsteps. I described the heavy, methodical crunching, how it bypassed the green tent entirely and stopped exactly 2 feet from my head. The detective stopped writing. He looked up, his expression unreadable. "You're sure they were heavy footsteps? Like hard-soled boots?" "Positive," I said. "They crunched deep into the gravel. It wasn't an animal." The detective sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "The couple that went missing, they were ultra-light trail runners. They only wore soft, foam-soled running shoes. And based on the amount of blood we found in their vehicle, we don't think they ever made it up that trail." My stomach dropped. Then who pitched their tent at Site 4? "We think whoever took them pitched it," the detective said quietly. "To make it look like they were out on a multi-day hike. To buy time." The room started to spin. The person standing outside our tent wasn't the owner coming back. It was the person who put the tent there in the first place. Before they let us go, the officers asked to inspect our gear, just in case there was any trace evidence transferred from the site. We walked out to the car, popping the trunk. My brother pulled out our tent, still haphazardly stuffed into its bag from our frantic morning packing. He unrolled it onto the pavement of the parking lot so the officers could look it over. That's when all the air left my lungs. There, on the side of the rainfly, the exact spot that had been facing the woods, the exact spot where the heavy boots had stopped, was a perfect, clean, 6-inch vertical slice in the nylon. It was cut from the outside, right at eye level. They weren't just standing in the dark listening to us breathe. They had been watching us sleep.